Hello.
Hello.
Aye.
Okay, I'm going to wait till we hit right at 4 and then we'll start. Okay.
Recording
I'm going
has
to call the Board of Selectmen meeting to order. FairTV. Are we on? Okay, thank you. So I'll ask everyone to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, before we jump into our meeting, I would like to introduce Michaela Andreasen, who is a student at St. Thomas School, who has been shadowing with me for most of the day today. And she's, so you could say hello. So we've got Selectman Flynn and Selectwoman Lefkowitz, who are both on the Board of Selectmen. And I've been teaching her about all this stuff. She went on some ribbon cutting. She came right after the pride flag raising, but she's, I think she almost fell asleep at one point today because it was a little boring of meetings going on. But I thought this would be a little bit more exciting for her. So this is our Board of Selectmen, and we're going to do some town business. Okay. All right. Our next item is minutes to consider and act upon the minutes of May 17th, 2021. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
And I'll second it.
Is there any discussion?
None for me.
Seeing none? All in favor?
Aye.
The next item is appointments. It is item number 4, to hear and consider and act upon the following appointments to the Board of Library Trustees. Peter Wilner of Old Farm Lane, the term from 7/21 to 7/27. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Seconded.
And I believe we have Peter on the line. Peter, are you there? Okay, I thought he was going to be on, but so Peter's being appointed to the Board of Library Trustees. And is there any discussion or comments before we vote?
Peter, thank you very much for taking on this important work. The libraries are an incredible resource in our town, and just really appreciate your service.
And I'd just like to second what Nancy just said.
Okay. Well, I too appreciate Peter stepping up, and we look forward to having him serve on this important board. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Item passes unanimously. The next item is appointment to FairTV Commission. This also requires RTM approval. And this is Paula Kokaza of Inwood Road, term from 7/21 to 7/24. Do I have a motion to approve?
I will approve the appointment of Paula Kokoza to the FairTV Commission.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I'll second it.
And if
Paula,
I
are you-
may, yep, she's here.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I'm here. Hopefully you can
Hi,
hear me.
Paula. Yes, I can.
Hi.
Nice to see you.
Excellent. Nice to see you.
I'll open it up. Nancy, would you like to say something?
Yes, thank you. I know Paula a little bit personally, and I'm so thrilled. Since I have gotten to know her over the past few years, I've been in the back of my mind hoping that she would be able to step up and serve in some ways. And I know she does a lot for our community broadly. I just think this is such an important commission. You bring great skills and strengths to the table. Paula, in the conversations that we've had, you've always just been really thoughtful and really just have an ability to see things soundly and without hysteria or division. And I think that's what we need here. And so I look forward to supporting your appointment, and just thank you so much, because this is an important one too. I mean, they're all important, but the way we communicate with transparency to our public and the rules that we have to, and through FairTV, I just think it's a very important commission and bringing that to the table. So just thrilled that you've stepped in. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Nancy. I appreciate that.
I'd like to
Tom,
thank
do
you.
you have anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, just thank you, and I wish you well on the commission. As Nancy indicated, it's a very important commission, and if there's anything that COVID taught us, it's our ability to telecommunicate with the townspeople is very important. So they continue to make strides and improvements, and I wish you the best of luck in the new position.
Thank you so much.
And I too, Paula, I thank you for stepping up. You do have an impressive resume for this position. You have that knowledge, and I think it's important to have that background. So thank you for stepping up and serving our town.
Pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you.
All right. Well, if there's no further discussion, I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Congratulations, and thank you again.
Thank you.
And I'll tell you, like I tell everyone, if you're welcome to stay, but if you have to go, you can do that as well.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, our next item. I'm gonna, if it's okay, oh, Mary, you're there. Oh, okay. I know Mary had called and said she was stuck in some traffic, so I'm going to go ahead. I was going to move this item down lower, but we're good. So item number 5. I want to say, somebody want to make a motion, Nancy?
Yeah, yep. I'd like to make a motion to waive the reading, singing the same song, Brenda. It's important, but I think we can get through I'd rather get to the discussion than the reading. So I'll make a motion to waive the reading on this one.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. So this item, I have to say, wow, a lot of emails on a sense of the body resolution. I think we got more emails on this than on the budget. So
I was going to say the same thing. Yeah.
So I am going to. So anyway, I'm going to hand this over to Mary Hogue, who is the chairperson of the Fairfield Forestry Committee, to share. And I'm not sure if Charlie Stebbins is going to be able to be on, but I know that the resolution is very detailed, so it does really lay out a lot of the information, but I'm going to hand it over to Mary. Mary, you're on mute.
Mute me. Is that working?
There
Is that
you
better?
go. Yep, you're good. Yep.
I made a PowerPoint to run through real fast. It's mostly eye candy. I don't know how to share a screen. Is that possible? Switch audio.
I wouldn't. I'm not the tech person here. Usually, if someone's sharing it, they know how to do it. I wouldn't know how to tell you how to do it.
Oh, I had asked about doing that, and they said no problem. More
Who said that?
Is Dave Kelly on? Dave would be the one.
I'm not going to out anybody. Slides. Oh, that's me. Stop video settings, virtual settings.
Hi, Mary. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. At the bottom of your screen, do you have a share button?
Yes, this is
It's grayed out.
grayed out.
It's
Oh.
grayed out. Dave, it's grayed out.
Well, I'm not sure here. We are set to allow anyone to share, but
Oh, okay.
if you're clicking the button, it's apparently not letting you do.
It's grayed out. Okay, so we didn't get to do a. Oh well, you're missing out on a lot
You
of
know
eye
what,
candy.
Mary, you have to switch it in your own computer settings to let it share, at least on my computer. So I don't know if that's the same for you.
I don't
Like you have to
know.
go into your system preferences,
Yeah, I'm in.
allowing WebEx to record your screen.
Oh well, see, I'm not a big WebEx person. Okay, well, I guess I'll just look at my PowerPoint and I'll run through it. Okay, so I'm looking at my PowerPoint. You're missing a lot of eye candy. It's very pretty. Sorry about
Can we
that.
share it can we share it, Brenda, on the town website, or?
Yeah, and Mary, if you can send it to us, we could always look at it and I'll put it on the town website as well.
Okay, because it's really mostly visual. It's too bad because I got a lot of pictures from the cleanups that were done at the things that Charlie Stebbins in particular had talked about, which are a lot of Connecticut Audubon sanctuaries and spaces. The pollinator pathway pledge in particular, well, the pollinator pathway, let's start there, is something that is in 2 countries and 9 states. So it's a pretty broad area. But basically what it does is it allows places to connect big, broad, open spaces with our own yards. So it allows the pollinators, which are able to fly between these big open spaces, to connect within our own areas. And people really love this concept. And what's nice about it is it allows people to start and be able to start wherever they are in their pathway on the pollinator spot. So different people join and at wherever they are, and they take off from there. And some people like to do it because of the pollinators, of course. Some people really get into it because of taking care of the waterways, because of the different things that happen when you take care of your landscape in a certain way. I'm very big about the soil and the microbes in the soil, because some of you know my license plate is compost. So, but you can start just in a pot and on your garden, on your balcony. If you live in an apartment, you can go in your garden, you can go into a demonstration garden, or you can go into a big field, so it can be scalable. There are 3 portions of our pledge. It's asking you to rethink your lawn. Maybe you want to just take a little bit of your lawn and just take it out and put in some native plants. Some people think, well, why should I buy nitrogen when I can just put some clover in? Because clover naturally brings nitrogen into your lawn. We ask you to think about maybe using less pesticides or even no pesticides. We ask you to garden like Mother Nature. You know, let the leaves stay on especially the wooded areas, or leave the grass clippings. Those are all natural fertilizers. And provide some water in your landscape. You'll see an amazing amount of wildlife come to visit you. I can't really give these visuals any credence, but one visual is the lawn at the Vatican is actually all clover. So some people are going really crazy. The Aquarian Water Company tells us that the water usage jumps up to 70% higher in the summer months because of all the landscaping irrigation that we do here in Lower Fairfield County. So going native plants, the native plants are native to this area. They don't need any extra watering. They don't need any extra anything. They're meant to be here. Those are all all sorts of things come back. Native plants come back, native wildlife comes back. It's really amazing. So what we ask that you do when you get your native plants is that you have blooming trees, shrubs, perennials all through the seasons from the spring through the fall. By the way, happy summer solstice. Today is the summer solstice. And we ask that you endeavor to do these things. There is no right or wrong way to be on the pollinator pathway. Everyone is welcome. Everyone does it the right way because they're trying. That's really the bottom line. So that is the pollinator pathway. Any questions? That was my presentation without the eye candy.
Thank you, Mary. I appreciate it. I'm going to open it up to the board to ask if anyone has anything they would like to ask Mary.
I don't have any questions. I'm super familiar, and again, want to echo that this, I think, is the single most reached out about item that we've had. It seems. I can't remember something that has been more supported. And I want to show you the mask I wore.
Yay!
So clearly this has my support, and just want to say thank you for all the work that you do to keep our town, planet, and so on safe and healthy.
I do want to say one thing about the pollinator pathway is that it brings a community of microbes, of wildlife, of plants, but what I love about it is it brings a community of people together. That is so exciting to see. And that's what I think you're seeing with all the letters that you got. So
Yep.
I want to make that note.
So Mary, thank you to you and your board for all the hard work and the events that you host and the initiatives that you put together annually. Quick question for you on the pollinator initiative. Where does it go from here? What's next? You come to us where obviously we're going to pass this resolution. What happens after that? What do you do?
Well, one of the reasons I'm coming before you now is that this pollinator pathway resolution is 20 points towards our sustainable CT certification. And as I mentioned in the backup that I sent you, we are required to submit our certification documentation on August 24th. So the pollinator pathway in total is 40 points. So we already have the other 20 points. So this will help round out those 40 points. So yes, we do want to get those 40 points. That's important. One of the things is trees are an integral part of the pollinator pathway program. I don't know if I think you heard from the Romeo family. Ryan Romeo is he just got out of the McKinley school system, and he was on Channel 12 last week. And he
we got an email from him today. Yeah.
Okay. And he is going to help us on the forestry committee, not just encourage, but educate people about how to pick the right tree for the right place and how to plant it properly, how to mulch it properly. So we're going to be working on that starting in the fall because it's getting a little too hot to plant a tree. So that's one of the things that we'll be doing related to the pollinator pathway. Trees are, like I said, so important. And we have a tree planting program with the forestry committee that's on the roadsides and public spaces. So that's also something. And then the Tucker Fund, which is having their big fundraiser this Saturday afternoon, they're raising money to do things related to the pollinator pathway. As I said, the Connecticut Audubon has been doing an enormous amount of cleanups. They did their John Fields thing where they got rid of Mile a Minute on Bronson, I think it's Bronson Road. And then the Larson Sanctuary created a Friends of Larson group. It's been amazing what they've done up at Larson. So we're working with them. The Aspetuck Land Trust has their Green Corridor program, which is just a phenomenal program. So Mill River Wetland Committee has been involved. They've included that in their river lab, and they've been doing outreach and doing cleanups throughout town, working with the Board of Realtors. They're doing some cleanups. We're working with the Claybend properties. So it's really, we're trying to work with other commercial property owners. It's really just getting everyone together, working together as a community, just keeping it going, educating people, seeing what work, it's input. It's also getting input from other people, getting to see where, not leading, really finding out what interests people and taking the lead from the community, I think, is really what I would say. So I don't really want to say where we're going to go. It's what the community wants us to take it, where they want to take it.
Okay. My question was just more so, are you going to advertise this? Is this going out? Do you have a press release about it, et cetera? That was really,
That's a short answer. Yeah, we will definitely want to have a press release about this for sure.
got it. Okay.
Sure, you should have asked that, yes.
Yeah. No, thank you. I appreciate the caller. Have a good one.
Thanks.
All right. Well, thank you, Marion, and obviously we're all very appreciative of how much work you put into our community on so many levels, with the Forestry Committee, with the Sustainable Task Force, and obviously this initiative, which I think is really cool and an amazing plan for us and for our community to learn more about how to do this in their own backyard. So our front yards as well.
Okay.
Well, all right. Well, thank you very much. And I'm going to open, we already opened it up, so I'm going to call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously.
Yay.
Yay. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Our next item is item number 6. This is the Human Services Commission, and this is to hear and consider and act upon the charge of the Fairfield Commission on Disabilities. To present is the Human Services Commission Chairperson, Laura Inserta, and Human Services Director, Julie DeMarco. And we're going to make one amendment to it at the end, but I'm going to open it up now for a presentation.
Great, thanks. I also wanted to let you know Loretta J., who was not going to be able to be with us, is able to be with us. I'm just going to start with a brief introduction and then pass it on to Laura. This commission has been 5 years in the making. It started quite some time ago with a lot of homework and research, and has come to the point with that it came out of the Human Services Commission as a true need for the town to have a commission on disabilities for our residents. So we went with the route of a 3-year temporary commission to determine the need for a more permanent commission. I think we all unanimously felt that a permanent commission was necessary, but we understand that, we've really got to demonstrate that there is a need. We've worked closely with the ADA compliance officer, and that's Tom Bremer. And I think as you listen to what both Laura and Loretta have to say, I hope that you agree that there's a need for this commission to give it a try for a few years. And we also did work with the town attorney. And at the end, we'll circle back and I can answer any questions that you have. So I'm going to turn it over to Laura.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you, Julie, and thank you to the Board of Select Men and Women for your time today. I am new to chair of this commission, but certainly not new to the commission. I've been serving for the last 4 years. I'm in my 4th year. Thrilled to be chair. And I must say, this has been an item of discussion on our agenda for the last 4 years. We have clearly been directed by one of our former members, Chris Burbank, who does have a disabled child, that there were some grave needs in town for addressing people with disabilities, whether they are in a wheelchair or blind or, just not able to really function as all of we are blessed to do. It really heightened the need for looking at this more carefully. Loretta's going to get into the details with you, but the bottom line was we did a study across many other towns to see if they had been addressing, the need for people with disabilities. And we determined there are many towns that are participating in this. and we invited Westport to come in and speak to our board, our commission. And it was just so enlightening to find out that, there's some things that we could definitely do here in our beautiful town of Fairfield. And, we've gone through a long process in getting us to this point in front of you, which I'm thrilled to be doing. Loretta, as I said, will speak more to it. But, unfortunately with last year, it kind of was a start and a stop and a start and a stop. So we're really happy to be here right now. And I echo Julie's comments about, certainly taking it to whatever level the town is comfortable with. But we would like to see this move forward in a very positive way. So if there's any questions I can answer at the end of this, I'm happy to do so. I'd like to introduce Loretta J., who is the chair of the committee, and she has been unanimously accepted and appointed as our commission chair when it gets passed. I'm not going to say if, I'm going to say when. So take it away, Loretta. Thank you. Uh-oh.
Hi, everybody. Thanks very much for this opportunity. Can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I just wanted to jump in and say hello, Loretta. It's been a while since I've seen you.
It is. Hi, Brenda. Good to see you. Hello to everybody. Thanks for this opportunity. Thank you, Laura and Julie. I've had the honor of serving on the Disabilities Committee of the Human Services Commission for a little over a year, or maybe close to 2 years now. And we've really been hard at work. And I just want to talk about what we see the commission being, if we are fortunate and have your support. The Disability Commission would be a proactive, not a reactive, budget neutral body. And its purpose would be to ensure that Fairfield is a welcoming community where people with disabilities can lead inclusive and fulfilling lives, participating and contributing as active members of our town. And taking this from where we are currently as a committee and making it into a standalone commission would allow commissioners to focus specifically on the matters that pertain to people with not just visible disabilities, but invisible disabilities. And that's a really important distinction to make sure that we're recognizing that we want to be inclusive of all people who have disabilities and perhaps even, and not perhaps, and letting our community help recognize those invisible disabilities. This will send a clear message that our town values this population's rights as well as its contributions. And we would work cooperatively to reduce barriers and create an avenue for intentional inclusion of this vulnerable community. Furthermore, the commission would help identify unmet needs, promote awareness of existing resources, provide training and advocacy. We would be a support to the town when emerging issues arise and can create opportunities to promote positive change, really working together as a partner and a support. We would work with the Human Services Department, really focusing therefore on human needs in that avenue. And we would not be a complaint board, nor we would want to work cooperatively with the town and partner, as I had mentioned. Maybe it's easier if I pause here and let questions happen. If you have some questions, I can go on, but I don't want to overtalk.
Hi, Loretta. Thank you. So I'm going to open it up. I know this has been an issue that's been discussed. My time in the legislature, these items came up quite a bit in several of the committees. And I know that, legislature was always very walking lightly on a lot of this stuff because they knew whatever they passed in Hartford could have wide sweeping impacts, financial impacts, right, on towns about, mandates and things of that nature. So there was always a lot of discussion about this, or there'd be bills that were brought up, and so I've listened to a whole lot of these discussions over the 9 years I was in the legislature. But I think this is an important thing for our community review. I know that we put together a a needs assessment in our budget, and a non-reoccurring, to be reviewing life code and safety issues and things of that nature as well. So, you know, these are important issues to be looking at and having a really deep dive conversation on them. So I'm going to open it up to the Board of Selectmen. Who would like to chime in?
I have a couple.
Go ahead.
Couple of questions.
Yep.
Hi, Loretta. Nice to see you. Hi, Laura.
Hi, Nancy.
Hi, Julie. Thank you for everything that you do. And I, you know, of course, also personally recognize the importance of this work, and just want to make a shout out for an incredibly important documentary for those of you who haven't seen it, Crip Camp, which talks about AWA and the compliance, and incredibly compelling when you realize some of the laws that are really only in our very recent lifetime. Thinking about, you know, what we need to do as a community. You said that this would be budget neutral. Is there something that you think you can't do because of this issue, or that you would, with a budget, you might be able to do something different? I don't want you to sort of cut yourselves off before.
Yeah, I think I'll take that one. We felt like in the beginning of having this commission, and to try it for the 3 years, we would see what kind of issues came up. The commission, our town body would not have any authority over private businesses or anything that is not a town of Fairfield. So any complaints or concerns that are of a nature of like a building code, that's not really something this commission will be able to address. It's so you know, down the line, might there be a reason to have a budget? Maybe, but in the initial stages, it's really just getting a take on what the town needs. You know, some of the focus areas could be emergency planning and evacuations, or you know, education for both residents and town employees, transportation, recreation, housing, those kinds of issues. And those are more conversations than budgets.
And then I understand in terms of official complaints and all of that, but you know, is there a vehicle or a kind of an area where you see, or could you see down the line, where if someone has an issue, a discrimination issue, where they could go to a body? Do you see a future role for this group to play in that?
I don't see this commission as playing a part in a legal case. That's the town attorney for that. We have a town attorney for that, and the risk assessment, the risk management office, and DPW for actual, you know, if there were to be work done because of a complaint, we would not be a hearing commission.
Okay. Thank you. Anyway, it has my support. Thank you.
Ken.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you, ladies, for coming today and for all the hard work you guys have done. It's good to see you all. A couple quick questions. And Julie, thanks. You actually answered a couple of them in your response to Nancy, which is essentially this commission is going to focus on things related to the town and not private businesses. Is that correct? Because there's not a lot of, other than the laws that have already been passed at other layers of government, there's not a lot we can do to impact private businesses and how they handle these issues. Is that fair?
That's fair. We can be a resource for guiding them to make
Right.
improvements and to hear from residents about their concerns about them. Also, as you know, for residents, you know, trying to do modifications, or if the town is looking at the playgrounds based on the needs assessment that's being done, certainly we can be a resource.
Yeah, that's and you're getting to a couple of things that I read the charge and I listened to you guys talking. It's clearly we've got to support this aspect of our citizenry, obviously, and we've actually done a lot of that with the renovation work we've done at the schools and things like that. As we've made them more ADA compliant, and certainly that only deals with the physical aspects of disabilities, but we have made some strides there. My question is, what is the output of this committee? I read the charge and I sit there and say, we're going to advise, we're going to counsel. But at the end of, you know, you've put a term limit on here of 3 years, and I'm sitting here saying, okay, what's the goal here? What's the end goal? What are we going to get in, you know, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years? what's the tangible impact that we want this committee to have, as opposed to, we're going to be a resource, we're going to advocate, we're going to study, we're going to raise awareness. And please, I'm not minimizing any of that, but what's the more tangible output that we're looking for to say this committee was a success and we should continue it into the future?
I think that's a great question. Loretta, you look like you're jumping at the bit. Go for
I
it.
didn't want to cut you off. So I think that those are very good questions, and I am all for quantifying an outcome. And I think that that's something that I'd like to have the commissioners work on as one of the establishments, is how do we measure our success? I think that's very important, and I'd like to do that as part of the project. But speaking to some of the questions that you asked in terms of community members, we can identify and recognize community members who are doing it right, giving out awards as role models, as just ways that we can bring in the private sector to recognize in some ways. And in doing so, that creates opportunities for awareness. And I think I'm glad to hear you say that you don't want to minimize or not fail to recognize the value of awareness, because I think awareness is super important, because it doesn't just, it could be raising awareness of our beach wheelchair, that the committee was active in getting the beach wheelchair, but letting the community know that we have the beach wheelchair and promoting that kind of awareness with our recreation department. But beyond that, we could also, address stigma and bias and discrimination through our awareness activities, whether it's an awareness campaign or it's a specific project, and press releases and ways of involving the community in projects, whether it's our youth in the school system, having Brenda on as, and I forgot the term.
Bremer.
Yeah. No.
Ex officio.
Thank you. Ex officio board member.
Yeah.
Similarly, we also have our director of special education as well. And that's a way of bringing in the school and bringing in students to involve them and addressing and reducing negative preconceived notions, creating more positive experiences from an early age.
Right.
And just to add a little bit, I'm sorry, Tom, do you mind if I just add?
No, go right ahead, Julie.
I
Please.
talk fast, so one of the things
You don't
that we
need to.
definitely want to start with is doing updating a community resource guide. We have a generic community resource guide, which is very valuable for human service and social services. That's for all ages, but we really need specific information for people with all sorts of disabilities, so that they can find the assistance that they need. The other piece of it is education. Town departments, Chamber of Commerce. How to make your business more accessible, and also how to handle when there's an invisible disability. There's people need to know how to not cause harm, and that's a huge piece of what we can do.
Yeah, I just think, and I think you ladies have spoken to it, and Laura, if you have something you want to add, I don't want to cut you off. I'm just looking for, and I'm not saying you guys just didn't give this. I would love to see, after your first few meetings, you come up with, the goals that you want your committee to achieve. How do we know, meaning you as committee members, how do you feel good and you've been successful? What does that outreach look like? What are the initiatives that you put together? Tangible, and the tangible thing could be your awareness campaigns. The tangible things could be, some of the discussions, Loretta, that you were talking about. But really, when I read the charge, it was just so nebulous that I'm sitting there saying, what's the definition of success, right? What is the goal of this commission that we can look back in designated timeframes and say this was successful?
Thank you, Tom, for including me, because the thing that comes forefront to mind for me is the engagement of many of the Fairfield citizens that may not be engaged already, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the mothers and the fathers, or the people themselves that really don't feel included, as Loretta pointed out. The the exclusivity of that, membership, so to speak,
Mhm.
of people that maybe never felt like they had a voice before or a place in, society here in Fairfield. So, that's what I think we can tangibly help to create and show by moving this
Right.
commission forward.
Right.
Perhaps it might even be evaluating the pre and post activity of people who have disabilities and
Right.
their own, doing a before and after survey, and we do have a needs assessment that was compiled from 2018, 3 years ago, on the town members' perceptions of needs, the needs for a commission, and what services are needed for people with disabilities. But one of a comment that was suggested by a community member was to get more people with disabilities outside and out of their own homes, and and creating opportunities for that and avenues to help them feel safe and feel secure, and identify what are the barriers to have that happen, and then addressing those barriers as an example.
Yeah, I think by having a well-defined set of goals, and Loretta, I like what you just said, the inclusion and the how many people with disabilities are now doing whatever activity as opposed to were before, and things of that sort. I think by having hard goals like that, you'll keep your committee more engaged, right? And they'll see progress or not, versus if it stays so nebulous. I don't know that you'll keep people as engaged as they could be. And that's just what I would really encourage you guys to think about, really defining this well in the early months. And so that you can come back and say, this is what we tried to achieve, and this is what we accomplished. So
That's a great point.
thank
Very
you
good.
so
Thank
much.
you.
That shouldn't be difficult with our fearless leader. Good job, Loretta.
Best of luck, Loretta.
Thank you. Thank you all.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for your comments. I do want to ask for a motion to make an amendment to change line 1 in paragraph 1 on the second page to the following: regular meetings shall be held every other month as needed. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Okay. Is there any discussion on the amendment? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we are back to the main motion as amended. If there's no further discussion, can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
And I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Well, we look forward to hearing some updates as you make progress. And thank you for stepping up, Loretta.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right,
Thank you.
take care. Next item is number 7, Purchasing Authority. Nancy?
I am happy to make a motion to waive the reading of this. And
So seconded.
I'm gonna say for the next, I'm just looking at the agenda, for the next 3 items, we can waive the reading. Next 2 items.
Okay, very good. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And so this is to authorize purchasing authority to go into a contract. And just to be clear, before we go into all of this, the town attorney has reviewed, and we have Gerald Foley and our tax collector on the WebEx to present to us, and we also have the town attorney for any questions. And I'll open it up. Who would like to begin, Gerald or Dave?
I could start. Yeah, so this is
Okay,
Gerald. Yeah, this is Gerald Foley. What you have before you is, we went out for an RFP for collection agency services. We had a very good response from the, I think we had 8 firms that responded. From the 8, we did a short list, and from those short lists, we did interviews, And as a result of the interviews, there was a recommendation of an award to the company you have before you, TaxServe Capital Services LLC. What we're asking for is a 3-year initial award, I'm sorry, a 2-year initial award with 3 one-year options. The way that these types of services are structured is they go by a state statute limitation. In other words, the companies can charge up to 15%. So what we had is the company that was the one we're recommending came in with a slightly lower offer to us. Basically, in essence, it'd be a 10% charge for the first, we'll say, I think the first 6 months. And then after it, that charge would go up slightly to 12.5%. And then into year August of 2022, it would go back up to the statutory limit, which is the 15%. So you have before you, like I said, this a request for an authorization to enter into this agreement with this company.
I have some questions, if I might.
Sure.
I'll defer to my colleagues. Is that okay? Yeah, thank
Sure,
you.
go right ahead.
Quick question. Have we used a service like this in the past?
The answer, yes.
Yes. Okay. So, and their contract just came up recently. Is that the deal?
We forced it to come up. So what had happened was, just to give you a little backstory.
Yeah.
These are one of the services that over time I've been going through expenditures and kind of picking items that I think we should be looking to see get other competitive services. So this one I work with Dave, and we issued an RFP for this. But this was kind of a long process to do it.
Got it.
But the company that we had, that Dave could talk more about, I think it's just over 20 years we've been doing business with them. So this was our first attempt at basically soliciting other offers for these services.
Yeah, and there's no need to go into that. Let me thank you for the answer, Mr. Foley. Quick question on this. What accounts get turned over to this? This is essentially a classic collection agency, right? Like we use in regular business. What accounts get turned over? Who gets turned over to this collection agency?
I'll defer to Dave.
We're turning over, we're turning over motor vehicle accounts, but we're not turning them over until they're approximately 3 years past due.
Okay.
And this is with the understanding that most people are going to pay their taxes within 2 years when their registration comes up.
Yeah.
So then when they don't come through that door after 2 years, we send it to the collection agency because there's a chance that they've probably moved out of state, and these agencies have better tools than us. They do skip tracing. They have better means to find people once they're out of state.
So this is motor vehicle. It's not house.
It's never house. We do send sewer.
Okay.
It's a much smaller balance, obviously, than a house, but that's more or less just to encourage payment. And again, it's after, say, 3 years.
Right. No, okay, that makes a lot of sense to me. Thanks for the clarification. My concern was, were we doing anything on the house side, which I didn't think we were, which we shouldn't, and I'm glad to see we're not. So the fact that it's motor vehicle and sewer, and that it's that 3 years, that policy makes a lot of sense to me. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Nancy, do you have any questions?
No, thank you.
Okay.
Excuse me, before you vote, I noticed I made a typo. So what I have is there's a lapse in the years. So what I did is I did August through 2021 through July 31st of 2023. And then on my second action, the renewals, I have it skipping a year. So I wanted to see if we could, the renewal year should start August 1st of 2023, not 2024.
I'll make a motion to make the amendment to the years. Yeah.
Okay. To both sets, Gerald? To the second one too, 7/31/26?
Yeah, no, it's to the first. So the first one I believe is correct. So it's August 1st of 2021 through July 31st of 2023. But then in the renewals, I skipped the year. I wrote it so that it goes, basically, there's a whole year where there's a lapse there. So it should be
So where
August
did it start? Should it be
2023. It should be in the renewal period.
2023,
Yes.
8/1/2023?
Yeah, so August 1st of 2023 through July 31st of 2026. So it's just the second set. So the 2024 should have been 2023.
Yep, so I'm going to make an amendment to modify the second line, the last line, from 8/1/2024 to 7/31/2026 to 8/1/2023 to 7/31/2026. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll second it.
Yeah.
Okay.
You made the
all
motion,
in
Brenda,
favor?
I think. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, now, if we have no further questions, I'd like
Quick-
to get a
quick-
motion to the amended item.
Yeah, I have one other question to follow up on, just my standard. I assume this contract has gone through the town attorney and it's been appropriately adjusted to his commentary. Is that, Mr. Baldwin, can you confirm that you're good with this contract?
Yes, Tom, this is Jim Baldwin. I have, and there have been some slight modifications, but all to my satisfaction. So it's good to go as far as the board is concerned.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
I've got nothing else, Madam First Selectwoman.
So we have a motion on the table, ask for a motion. I mean, all in favor, a motion on the amended, motion to approve on the amended motion.
Yeah. Aye.
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 So to be clear, we just voted on what we amended totally,
Correct.
not the amendment itself. Yeah, okay.
The whole item.
The whole
as
item.
amended.
Yep, thank you.
Okay. The next item is item number 8, which is another proposed contract. I said at the beginning earlier, the town attorney does review all contracts before they're placed on the agenda. They wouldn't be on the agenda if he hadn't reviewed them. So I'm going to ask for a motion to approve item number 8.
So moved.
Seconded.
Thank you. And we have Gerald Foley and John Marsilio on the line to present this item. And who would like to start off?
I could start. So this is Gerald Foley. So what you have before you is we're looking to enter into a contract with United Roofing and Sheet Metal. We want to have them re-roof the transfer station. The transfer station roof is not in very good shape. So our intent is to have these services basically commence immediately after we get successful contracts executed. Within the bids, they noted 120 days. So we're hoping that if we can start, say, early July, that we would get the roofs repaired before the winter season sets in. So when we did this, we had 7 companies that submitted a bid. We had a company called Bay Restoration. They were initially what we termed initially was a low bidder, but when we reviewed their bid, they had made a math error. So we contacted them and they withdrew their bid because of the error. So that's why they came in at like $47,100. And so we went to the next lowest bidder, which is the company before you. It's United Roofing and Sheet Metal.
Okay. Quick question.
I'm going to open it up to questions from the board.
Yeah. Nance, do you have anything, or would you like me to go?
Go for it, please. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we have a lot of projects going on down and around that area. There's nothing that's interfering with this project. We're not going to have a situation where we do this work and then it's going to be ripped up by some other project down there. Are we? I just want to make sure we're not wasting money.
I would say no. I don't think it will interfere with any other project. Right now, the roof, like I said, is in very poor condition. So once we replace the roof, it'll be another 20, 30 years that you'll have to redo this, but this work will not interfere with any other work.
John, I see we have John Marsilio on. Do you want to comment on this as well, just so, from your perspective of what's going on with that building? And thank you, Mr. Foley.
Welcome.
I think you're on mute, John.
John, you're on mute. Bucky? Still on mute.
Nope, not working.
Are you using your computer audio? Usually that's just the unmute button at the bottom.
Now?
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
There you go, John.
Okay. So this is just replacing the standings. There's two roofs at this transfer station. One's a flat roof that has the, that was repaired and had the solar panels put on it. The second is the standing seam roof along with the siding. It's important to get this roof done because we made a large investment in new compactors there.
Right.
This roof leaks down into that area. Last thing we want is rainwater getting into the controls and into those compacting units. So,
but this isn't going to be a case where, and you bring up the compactors, we had issues with that before you got here. But this isn't going to be a case where we redo this roof and in 2 years we're going to be ripping this off to do something else with that building. We're going to be fine. This roof is going to be maintained and where it needs to be for a length of time. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
Is there any other further comments from the board on this item?
None for me, thank you.
Okay. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
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 We're on.
Thank you. Motion
Thank you.
carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gerald. Thank you, Bucky.
Thank you.
Item number 9 is, this requires Board of Finance and RTM approval to hear and consider and act upon the request from the fire department to purchase and install fire station alerting systems in the amount of $196,192 to process voice and data for fire station notification of emergencies and dispatch. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
The item. Oh, second.
Thank you. We have Fire Chief Dennis McCarthy and Assistant Fire Chief Eric Caliper on the line to present, and I'm going to hand it over to the Chief. Hi, Chief.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, and Deputy Chief Dunn is with us as well. This project comes before you. It was originally part of our radio infrastructure upgrade. And there are two parts to that, and I detailed this in the 14 points. I'll brief just the circumstances for you, and then any technical questions Assistant Chief Caliper can answer. There are two parts to this project. One is the Joint Communications Center project with Westport, and a portion of the funds, $259,000, is included in that ECC budget. And that budget is split 50-50, the capital costs, with the town of Westport. That $259,000 will fund the installation of the backbone of the station alerting system. As part of that agreement, any community-specific equipment will be purchased by the community. So both Westport Fire, New Canaan Fire, and Fairfield Fire are purchasing their components to run the station alerting. So we are requesting $196,000 for the purpose of purchasing Fairfield-specific equipment that will be located in each of the 5 stations. This amounts to $39,000 a station, and it should be noted that this equipment runs 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, cannot fail. There's triple redundancy built into the system so that if one component goes down, we have backup, so we never lose connectivity and the ability to dispatch our units by ECC through this communication to each of the stations. The other point that I would want to make is, as you are aware, the radio project originally held, the Town of Fairfield radio project with the police department and several others, originally, or it still holds, a line item of $250,000 for station alerting, our portion of Fairfield-specific equipment. Because that project has not moved forward, we need to come before you and the other boards to request funding so that when the ECC does open, we have the ability to communicate and dispatch fire apparatus as part of that system. So if approved, $250,000 will come out of the radio project because it is funded through this request. And through the hard work of Chief Caliper and the committee, it's come in at a lower number than originally projected. So instead of $250,000 in the radio project, we're requesting 196 and change, which is a $53,000 reduction. And with that, I will pause for questions, and certainly technical questions will be answered by Assistant Chief Caliper.
Thank you, Chief. I'm going to open it up to the board for questions.
Yeah, if I might. Nancy, do you have something? Do you want to go first?
Tom, I love when you lead with questions.
Thanks, Chief. Hey, quick question. Clarification, points of clarification. So, number one, are these fire station alert systems that you're asking for here, are they required because of the build out of the new ECC? Is that why this is coming about?
Yes, they are. We have the new ECC will hold, instead of a hardware-based system, which we have operated on and is very antiquated, we're going to a cloud-based system, and we need the connectivity on our end to connect to that cloud-based system.
So if we knew this was part of that, and by doing that we forced this, why wasn't this included in the original budget that was presented for us and then updated for us just about 2 months ago or so related to the ECC?
So the ECC portion of this budget is in the ECC, in that budget at $259,000. And we have been working with the police department and the administration to move the radio project along.
Yeah, no, that part I know. Yeah,
okay.
That's
so there are
separate.
a number of options available to get the radio system funded that we have been trying to pursue. It doesn't look like any of those will come to fruition in time, so we had to carve out this funding request.
So, Chief, I don't understand the answer. So, you refer back to this 250,000. Was this 250,000, which great work on getting it down to the 199 or whatever it is? Was that included in the original budget for the ECC? Yes or no?
No.
Okay.
So Tom, I just want to make sure that we're clear because it's not just a yes or no answer. There is an ECC portion,
right,
of $209,000 that is in the ECC budget, and it
Understood.
will be spent specifically for ECC station alerting backbone.
Understood.
This 196 is specifically for station resident equipment to connect back to it.
Yeah, which quite frankly, I'm not happy about that because when we're presented with a budget for the ECC build out, right, it should be an all-encompass budget. It shouldn't be oh, we have to build this out. And then, by the way, because we're doing this, we need to spend another 200,000, but it's not resident within those four walls. I mean, this was, the all-in cost of this project of the ECC build out just went up by $200,000, right? I mean, because we knew when we made the decision to do the ECC that this was going to come along in short order. Now, granted, I understand that in addition to that, there's this multi-million-dollar radio project. Eric was Assistant Chief Caliper was kind enough to get me involved in that aspect of it. So that side of it, Mr. Caliper, I guess, or Assistant Chief Caliper, I guess what we're saying is that project's going to go down by this amount of money. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, but we're applying for federal funds on that, from what I understand. Can we still include this as part of those federal funds after we financed it like this, as kind of a reimbursement?
These are state funds.
Yeah, so if we get, you're talking about an earmark?
I don't know the technical terms. I just know that we originally applied, we were rejected, and we resubmitted a proposal to get funding for this project, some federal grants. And I just don't know whether these funds, after expended in this manner, can be reimbursable through those federal grants.
I think that if, the philosophy from the federal government is you can't supplant, and a budgeted amount from the town cannot be supplanted with federal dollars. So it is doubtful. It's certainly worth pursuing, but it's doubtful that once funded, we can't apply federal dollars to replace it. But we'll certainly work with the police department, who is on point for that application for earmark fundings, to see if that is a possibility.
Right. So right now we have a $200,000 item that we really, basically, from the fact pattern that you've laid out, we don't have a choice because we're doing the ECC. That decision's been made, funded, and built out. In order for that equipment to work with our fire stations, we need to spend this. I'm rounding up, I know. We need to spend this $200,000 or else the equipment doesn't work, correct?
That's correct.
And because we don't have the other radio project up and running yet, we got rejected for that one. We don't have a reimbursement, so this is an additional capital outlay by the town in order to do this. Is that correct?
It is correct. However, it wasn't anticipated. I think that the feeling right along was some portion of the radio project, either the police fire radio project, which has been in the capital waterfall projection for 5 years, working slowly through the process, that this money, or this part of the project, was always anticipated, and I have never seen a reservation about moving forward with that. It was assumed that, when we get to the right time, that would be a project that would move forward. The other parts of it that
we don't know that, because that project has never been that overall radio project has never ever been presented to the town boards, so we don't know how the town boards will react.
It's not a fait accompli. You're correct.
Right. So I'm just, in my apologies, I'm just, when we make a multi-million-dollar decision on one side and we ask, is this the all-in costs? In this instance, it wasn't the all-in cost because we have this $200,000, and I would assume the police probably need something else in their headquarters. Maybe I'm wrong on that, based on this new ECC that we have.
I don't believe that there is a equivalent requirement of the police department.
Okay, good. I would assume that if the bigger radio project goes forward, that all the equipment we're procuring here will work with that bigger project. Is that correct? I want to make sure we're not doing it. Okay.
Yes, it will.
Okay, and how do we propose that we buy this? What's the funding mechanism for this? A bond? Or what?
I can't speak to that issue.
Because I don't see a bond resolution with this item.
Yeah, I don't have, Jared is not here, he's on vacation, so I don't have the information for that, but I would imagine if it was a bond resolution, it would be on here.
Well, we don't, yeah, but we don't have the cash in the operating budget, I don't think. Chief, it's not in your current operating budget, right? And if it was, you probably wouldn't have to go back before the other town bodies to get this.
Right, it is not.
So when is the time frame that this is supposed to go before the Board of Finance and the RTM? Because you're going to need a bond resolution from us and then the Board of Finance and then the RTM.
I have met with Mr. Bremer to scope out potential meeting dates, and the challenge will be the July and August suspension of some or all of the meetings. So we're still working through those issues.
Right, so, but this isn't going to move forward anytime soon because of the meeting schedule right now, right? Unless there's special meetings held.
Yes, we are hoping that there is a special meeting that may be called for other purposes that we can add this item to.
Okay. Yeah, I just don't, with that, I would much rather get before we vote on this, and it's not that I'm against it, gentlemen, but I would much rather know what the proposed funding mechanism is, whether it's a bond, whether it's a contingency, which I can't imagine it's contingency given the size of the number here. I would just much rather know what the funding mechanism is for this and how it all interrelates. And Chief, can I ask, because I just have to, is this the last item that we're aware of that we know as part of the ECC build out needs to be, you know, it's an additional cost to the ECC build out?
Yeah, there's nothing else that there's nothing else that is a gap in funding. There is the ECC budget, the radio budget stands alone, and there's nothing else that we need to carve out in order to open the ECC.
And last question, because you referenced it in your comments. You talked about Fairfield, Westport, and you added New Canaan. Has New Canaan agreed to come into our ECC, or what's the deal there?
So New Canaan has been part of New Canaan Fire only. So New Canaan Fire has been serviced by Westport Dispatch for some 8 or 9 years, and they would come along as part of that process, and we'll have to make a decision to incorporate station alerting in some fashion.
Now, but is that an agreement between Westport and New Canaan, so that, because they were never in part of our funding for building out the ECC, so I would imagine is that kind of a side deal between Westport and New Canaan?
That is a legacy agreement between the town of Fairfield, the town of Westport and New Canaan that we did not disrupt in any way.
Yeah, no, I understand that. Thank you so much for the clarification on that. I appreciate it.
Nancy, do you have any questions?
I don't have anything additional. Thank you.
Madam First Selectwoman, I just think we ought to, our next meeting's in what, 2 weeks?
I believe so.
Yeah, I think given that we're not, or at least myself, I'm not clear on the funding mechanism here, and we don't have a bond resolution. I think I would like to make a motion that we table this to a date certain, which is the next regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Selectmen to vote on this item.
It's July 12th. I just looked. That's fine. I apologize. Mr. Bremer was working with the chief on this, and so he actually left a little early. And I don't have the answer to that question, so that's fine. We can table it to a date certain. It's fine.
Yeah, and my apologies, guys, because I've been jammed and with the Father's Day weekend and everything, it was tough to get through all the materials, and this one just hit me today that there was no bond resolution, and that's why it's coming up
Hey, Tom.
late from me.
Hey, Tom, I'm
Yeah.
reminded of a comment that you made to me back in a Board of Finance meeting. Is, Chief,
What?
your responsibility to identify the financial costs. It's our responsibility to find out where and how to pay for it. So we will work through
Exactly right.
We'll work through the Finance Department to solve this problem for the July 12th meeting.
Yep, you're exactly right, Chief, and thank you for remembering that.
I remember everything you tell me.
I don't tell much.
Advised.
There you go.
All right, so we are going to move on to item number 10.
I think we have to vote on it.
Yeah, we have to vote.
Oh, vote to table to the next meeting. So, all right, can I get a motion to table the item? July 12th.
I'll make the motion.
And I'll
Board of
second
Selectmen meeting.
Yeah, and I'll second it.
Okay, hold on one second. I don't know if this matters, Tom. Bremer just texted me because I was texting to ask. He said, we need just the permission to spend. We're going to add this item to a special meeting. This is true, I remember saying I did want to add the item when I bring up, when we do the presentation of the federal dollars to the Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, and RTM, I wanted to bring this item as a voting item, or a voting item for the bodies. And that's when they would be putting this spending mechanism in place. So this is just, according to Bremer, a motion to approve.
Let's do it all at the same time then.
Bond or Fed money, and then the bond or Fed money would be put in an actual motion to vote.
Yeah, let's do it all at the same time.
Okay, that's fine.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay, very good.
So the motion stands. I think I seconded it.
Yep.
Yes, all in
Thank
favor.
you, Brenda, for the clarification. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. And the next item is item number 10.
And thank you for the follow-up on that, Brenda, as well. I appreciate that.
Sure. The next item is an update on the Racial Equity and Justice Task Force. I appreciate this. This is, we have co-chairs Gina Ludlow and Task Force member Karen Lynch on the line to present. So I'm going to open it up to you ladies to give the Board of Selectmen an update. I think you're on mute, Karen.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Very good.
Okay. Cool. Thank you. Just clarifying, Gina Ludlow is not on the line. It's myself. I'm a task force member. But two other of our task force members are kind of here in listen mode. Innie and Doug are both here as well. So anyway, but I'll be doing most of the talking, and just know that they're present here as well. Gina is probably on a flight if she's not about to board. So anyway, thank you. Starting off to thank you for having us here, for asking for the update, and really just thank you once again for establishing this task force, because we are learning in the last several months, even beyond our conviction that it was an important task force to be involved in. We're certainly learning the importance of it in the last few months. We've had a lot of activity, for lack of a better word. We'll get there shortly. Historically, for those of you who are hearing this for the first time, for some of you this might feel a little redundant, it's now been about 6 to 8 months that we've been doing this, and we kicked off our work digging into kind of what in the research space we call secondary research, existing survey research, other surveys that have been done. We've looked at some of those results, considered other data that's out there, demographic and so forth. We reviewed town charters. We looked at some historical documents, but we also launched pretty quickly into our own kind of collective effort, primary research, if you will, which was conducting deep listening interviews with people. Each member of the task force dug in, and we had about 15 in-depth interviews across many sectors in our town, including commerce, culture and history, youth and education, housing, human resources, law enforcement, politics, religion. And we had these long, lengthy conversations capturing thoughts on equity and race in those spaces in our town and how that's played out. And we've also had many, countless anecdotal conversations with people of color in our town and people actually kind of race, not just within kind of the racial space, but also just other marginalized communities, whether it's people who are in a religious minority or people who are in kind of the LGBTQ space. A lot of people are coming forth to share stories with us. And what we're learning is, especially when it comes to race in our town, there are residents of color in our town are living a different experience than the the majority of our town residents. We've heard, certain things that people of color don't feel that they get the same service in restaurants, for instance. Black homeowners have often been mistaken for not living in Fairfield. They must live in Bridgeport. They must be the nanny of the children if they're in an interracial family, for instance. We've heard stories and seen, very recently, lots of accounts of graffiti in schools, racial slurs being used between students, kind of victimizing students of color. And when I say schools, not just the incidents recently at Ward and Ludlow, but Tomlinson and Burr and Sherman. And let's not forget kind of the politically heated but graffiti that happened at McKinley, seeping down into our elementary schools. Parents have challenged the way those situations are treated with administration. Education is a hot topic, if you will, in terms of this space for us. And also in law enforcement, we've heard some kind of anecdotal stories that people of color in town have felt that they're watched, for lack of a better word, a little more carefully. Perhaps that's their perception than white residents. A resident shared a story that they believe there was a racial or prejudicial motivation to being charged with the blight ordinance. And of course, I don't know if everybody is aware, but, in our town, we were actually called in and invited into the police station to learn some more specifics about a recent police stop where implicit bias played a role in officers pulling over a black man in town after hearing a very clear several dispatch calls saying that the suspect was indeed a short white male. But they stopped a driver of a black vehicle and said, you fit the description. So implicit bias is playing out in these sectors. So we're learning that firsthand. The other things that we've done is had some guest speakers at our meetings, including Lenasia Brevard. She's the president of the Fairfield Equity Coalition. She came to talk to us about with much detail about the work they've done in the kind of youth space. We had a man named Ken Barone, who's a project manager for the Connecticut Racial Profiling Prohibition Project on behalf of the Institute for Municipal and Regional Policy at Central Connecticut State University. And he shared with us a lot of statistics, some disturbing, about incidents of police stops and how race has factored into that, not just in the state of Connecticut, but in Fairfield as well. So some interesting data collected there. We have had members of our task force join many other calls, and we've also had other members of other organizations join our calls. So, for instance, John Wynn of the Strategic Plan Committee recently joined our call and talked to us a little bit about their process. We've heard from and worked with people on the Sustainable Fairfield Task Force. We have also worked with, it feels exhausting just to be talking about it, actually. It's been a really busy few months. We talked with somebody from the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities. We've had several conversations with them because they issued a CCM Racial Equity Toolkit, which is, at the culmination of all the work we've done, become a really instrumental tool for us in preparing our blueprint, because we're not actually recreating a wheel. There's actually a blueprint that is being recommended for towns like ours that are just starting to step into the space. So with all of that kind of context to what has brought us to where we are today, kind of 6 months into this year, The blueprint is coming along. We've got a really solid draft. We're hoping to be able to present, start the presentation phase pretty soon. This Thursday night, we're presenting a community roundtable. The RSVPs are, I think right now I'm up to 65, 70 RSVPs for Thursday's event, where we're going to be sharing out similarly our work to date and some thoughts for what's going into the blueprint and getting some feedback from the community before we finish that up to be able to present it back to the Board of Selectmen. What we're noticing and what we want to call out, or what I want to call out on this call, is that, we know, and I know there's some context here, and I know Jim Baldwin's on the phone too. We had some obstacles in the very beginning of our formation, kind of at the flip of the year, but we're making some really great strides. Certainly within law enforcement, I am coming off a day today. Lieutenant Esposito invited somebody from our task force to sit in on officer new hire interviews and kind of bring our lens to that process, which is a really wonderful step forward. Really looking to dialogue further about what we can do to make sure that we have the healthiest police force that we can possibly have, furthering our reputation as a really strong agency. So just such a great step forward in progress to be collaborating in that context. And I don't know that would have happened had we not been doing the work that we're doing. Also, we're getting a lot of community feedback from people that would like us to be responding to race-related events in town. The incidents in the schools, for instance, at Ward and Ludlow, a lot of chatter out there was, well, what about our task force? What can our task force do? Can't our task force do something? So we're starting to be seen as a body that perhaps the expectation and the wish would be that we would be more responsive than kind of proactively creating the blueprints. They kind of want to fast forward us a little bit to what the subsequent next steps might be, which is actually doing more of the work, being a little more empowered to respond to events, similar to there's, neighboring towns have different task forces at different stages. The Easton task force, for instance, has a charge that is past making recommendations, but actually doing things. So we're starting to hear from a large group of people that would like us to continue our work and expand upon it with implementing some of the recommendations that we hope to make, obviously with some funding and some leadership. So that's really where we are. We're anxious to hear your thoughts on that, and looking forward to the day when we can actually present the blueprint to you, which hopefully is coming soon.
Thank you, Karen, for taking that time. So this is good. I'm glad that you're coming around, coming closer to having some tangible information to share with the town. I just want to ask a couple things. You mentioned the Barone presentation in your, so that was about other, wasn't that about other towns, the Barone presentation? Which towns was that?
It was on, I don't have that, which towns they were. Yeah, Nancy might.
Yeah.
It was
you can answer that.
Yeah, it was a combination. We did touch on a report that was submitted, that predated our task force, that had been presented to the police department. It touched on Fairfield. It talked about Connecticut widely, but the presentation, it was geared towards Fairfield and the surrounding towns.
Okay. And I read some of this stuff. A lot of this said that a lot of our policies, they validated a lot of the current policies that we have in the Fairfield Police Department.
Yeah, I mean, Tom, I think
Sorry, what did you read? Because I was going to ask, there were no, forgive me for interrupting, there were no documents for this, right? It was that the presentation was verbal.
No, Barone, we shared, it's on from the task force. We did present the backup, but it was the Barone report that Brenda's asking about was something, as I said, that historically predated us, that there is information They had submitted a report, and we just reposted that information.
Okay. There was nothing, I'm sorry, Nance, there was nothing for this meeting, right? So I'm just making sure I'm not missing something.
No, we didn't present that back up because this was just meant more as a broad, but I will say to echo, Karen, you used a phrase I really liked in terms of the agency that's strong. All of the work that we've been doing has been in concert and coordination with Chief Calamares, who's been incredibly supportive of our work and has been open. So there hasn't been there's no like gotcha here. I don't think anyone is going to be surprised in terms of what we talk about in terms of the police. And he's been in the loop kind of every step of the way. So, Brenda, I'm not sure if that's what you're sort of getting at or asking, but just know that we have been very much in conversation with Chief Calamares, and look forward to kind of expanding that across, multiple departments, which we've gotten into through the deep listening. And anyway, I'll in my own comments, I don't want to take over here, but I think the nice thing is how open everybody has been across all departments, across all boards, across all department heads that we've spoken to. I think at least at the town level, the municipal level, and sort of some of the social services and through the schools, it seems that the feedback that we've gotten, and it'll be interesting to hear from the community perspective, because we've certainly heard opposition, but at least at the level of town departments and the like, people are looking to create a more inclusive way of moving forward. So there hasn't been, like I said, that gotcha moment. It's more,
No, thank you, Nancy. And I obviously I talk to all our department heads frequently, and obviously the chief quite a bit. And I know he has shared that he has had a lot of dialogue with you and the members of the commission who have reached out to him. So I think that's good. So I wanted to ask a little bit about the community conversation that you're going to be having on Thursday. It's Thursday night, correct? Yeah. So I know you have to register. I know we had some dialogue about that, and I'm glad. I think that putting it in the newsletter, it may have drawn some participation too, which I think is good. I'm a little concerned though that people have to register to get onto it, and as far as a town meeting goes.
They actually don't have to. They just have to. Basically what's happening is that people are just emailing me, kind of like an RSVP, and then they're getting all of the information to log in. The registration is actually just kind of confirming their email, and it doesn't seem to be an obstacle at all. It's just kind of securing that they are who they are, and that's it. So what the process is they're emailing me. That's actually the Gmail address that I set up for this task force work. So they're emailing me. Once I get their email, I'm putting them into WebEx and inviting them, and they're able to register. So it felt like it could be complicated. I was worried it would be complicated. It actually isn't proving to be at all, as long as I'm, quickly getting back to people. And most people are having no problems, and they're registering. So cool.
No, that's good.
And Dave has been great talking to me. Between Dave and Jen, they've been great talking to me about those nuances. So.
No, they're both very good. I appreciate you saying that. They're very good. So will the task force then listen Thursday night to our community? Is there like an agenda, and then ask specific questions, and then will they take that information they learned, kind of a survey almost, right? And then come back and input that into the blueprint that you're all working on?
Yeah. So the agenda's already been posted. So you'll see that it's kind of there's really 3 steps to it. The first step is for us to kind of explain ourselves. So we have a lot of new people joining that have not been on any of our calls before. So we'll give a bit of an update about the work that we've done and what led us to the development of the blueprint. We're also going to give people a forum, a safe place to share stories, kind of merging a little bit of that community listening that we have been wanting to do, but also aren't really set up to do it, but we're using this opportunity to hear these stories. Many people have said, I would just like to share my story. I'd like to be heard, or I want to be heard. So we're giving them a space to do that, kind of couched between, here's the work we've done, here are a few more stories, and then really the third bucket on the agenda is for us to say, here's basically what the core of our blueprint is. What we want to walk away with at the end of the day is people understanding our blueprint is higher level first step. It's not minutia. So some people may want us to get very specific, but we have to start to walk. We can't, get to the end of the marathon straight away.
Sure.
Go ahead,
sure.
Nancy.
I mean, it takes time. I'm glad that you brought the strategic chairperson, strategic planning person in. They did, obviously they were for years, working on that document. Yeah. And I wanted to actually offer, I didn't know where you were in the process, and I haven't had a lot of chance. I know Nancy's been busy with work, and I haven't had a lot of chance to talk to any of you at length to say, the town, I mean, there's certain things, if you wanted to do a survey, we could add, we could talk about putting an agenda item on the Board of Selectmen for something like that, a professional survey of sorts, or anything that you were all thinking about. I wanted to just offer that up because I know it's, you can't do this work in 6 months or, this is long work, right? It takes a long time. And just like the strategic planning, they produced a really thorough, well-vetted document. Yes, they had funding, without a doubt, but they also spent a lot of time, right? So I think I know that's what I want, for you guys to be able to do as well. So I just wanted to say that.
Yeah. Nancy, go ahead.
Did you want to add something?
No, I thought your hand was up.
Sure. It was, just to kind of piggyback on what you're just saying, Brenda. I mean, Karen, you were saying it's an exhaustive list, just even talking about it. And the amount of hours, volunteer hours, that an extraordinary group of human beings has worked on is really heartening. I think ultimately as a group, and I'm not speaking on behalf of the group here, I'm talking about my own observation of now having worked with this group 10 months. I think because the community, many members of the community have asked, why we can't be responsive. I think the group, there's a sense that at a certain point, there's more harm than good in just collecting information. And I think that there is a feeling that a permanent body really needs to kind of take over. And yes, it is long-term ongoing work, but work that probably needs to be done by a group of professionals who are equipped to address some of the concerns. And I think it's been appropriate that it's been taken on by a volunteer task force. As we've just talked today about a group that's going to work and see what they do over the next little bit, I think there is a point, because there have been so many incidents and so much outcry and so much anecdotal evidence in addition to hard evidence and data that we've collected. I think that there is a strong feeling that there is going to be a point sooner than later where the group doesn't feel, and Karen, I don't know if you want to talk about this at all, but
Yeah, and also just I know there's this, Brenda putting out that you might want to fund a survey. 30 years in the research industry, one of the things I would recommend to clients all of the time is never do survey work if you're not prepared to implement any changes or improvements based on the results. And our task force is not set up to do anything with the research, which will get outdated very quickly. So if we have a kind of a task force that isn't a more standing permanent body. So
let me ask a question.
To that stage where we can do something, we need to have kind of the infrastructure set up to act on whatever we learn through something like that. We have enough data to make some preliminary recommendations.
Let me ask a question then. What is your
I'm sorry, can I just say one follow-up thing there, that this blueprint are recommendations, you know, and I think people don't sort of.
So is this blueprint recommendations, or does it present, here's all the work, here's the data that underlies it, here's what we found out, here's our conclusion, and based on these conclusions, here are our recommendations? Is that how the report is going to read, or how's it going to read?
Oh, not necessarily in that order. It's basically taking some recommendations for action, suggestions. You know, we're an advisory task force, right? So we will kind of give these recommendations, and it will be accompanied with supporting where did we get those from. We didn't just make them up out of thin air. Did they come from what results, or did they come from what authority, what credible body?
No, what I want to know, Karen, when we set this up, the original auspices under setting it up was do the work, do the investigation, get us the data that underpins everything, and then come back with recommendations based on that data. So I'm assuming that what's going to come back is, here's the data, the data that supports this, and based on this data, we found out that, you know, this process, this policy, whatever, is a problem, and this is our recommendation on a go forward for that, whether that be, you know, bring in somebody from the outside for better education, whatever it may be. I make that up, but it could be one of them. So I'm just curious, you know, where are you guys in the data collection phase? It sounds like Nancy,
I think that's what I shared in the very beginning of this call.
It was all
everything we have done today.
You have. I haven't heard, Karen. I haven't heard, we found out of so many traffic stops, X percentage was this, or so many incidents, Y percentage was that. Yeah, I heard that there was a lot of people that came forward and said they had incidents, and I'm not dismissing that whatsoever. I'm just saying, do we have data that underpins all this as well?
Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead, Nancy.
So first of all, we do refer to certain reports. If you're looking for traffic stops and things like that, Karen referred to those, and those will be part of the backup.
That's what I'm asking. Yeah.
But Tom, I will say that if you are someone, and I'm not suggesting that this is you, if you are someone for whom anecdotal evidence is not going to be enough to validate the work, then some of this may be problematic. And for that person, these recommendations might be lost or confusing, because people are sharing their lived experience, and we are seeing value in that. We are using the incident, for instance, at Fairfield Ward High School as one example of why this work is necessary. And again, if that's a data point that is not compelling enough as as evidence that this work is required, or some of the recommendations, then this blueprint may be something that, you know, again, is not valid in someone's eyes.
So here's the thing. It can't be all anecdotal, and certainly it can't be, wait a minute, it can't be all data driven, right? To your point, it's got to be a combination of both that builds the case, or else it's very hard to make policy recommendations and changes based on that. So it's got to be both. That's all I'm saying.
I know, but with due respect, Karen has outlined how it is. So it is both, and you will see both ultimately.
That's what I'm asking.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you will see both, and you know, the short answer to your initial question, yes.
Okay. Yeah, because I just wasn't sure what you guys had kept on referring to the blueprint, and it was just not clear to me what it was. And I just wanted to make sure we were on the same page so that we can move forward on whatever recommendations come out and decide. And I think Brenda, referencing what the Strategic Planning Committee did, they did a nice job in their documentation with that as well. And most certainly they had some help.
I think we 100%, when we had them on, they had a very large budget. And
Agreed.
we specifically asked them about how they could spend that money to the consultants who are professionals in that space. And while they did a lot of work at the task force, they actually paid for the intellectual oversight and actually the drafting of the document itself. So it would be tremendously supportive to have a budget to the degree that they had a budget, and also the ability to make some of those decisions. I think that's something that, again, when we get to that point where we're sharing recommendations with you, we will have some, you know, some suggestions to get you to the next level. Right now, we have to start somewhere, and our suggestions will be, here's what we recommend for the town to get to the next level, which might be there. We're doing what we can with the resources we have of volunteers from many walks of life, who aren't data scientists, who aren't, you know, DEI experts. We're you know, individuals coming together to do step one. Or actually, many step ones. a dozen or two step ones.
Well, thank you guys very much for your work.
You're welcome.
I'm sorry, I am assigning. Oh, there we go.
Nope, can't hear you yet, Brent.
All right, I'm gonna shut that off. Can you hear me okay? Sorry.
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, we had a little, I don't know what happened. The camera went off in the conference room. Like the mouse stopped working, so I'm on my laptop. Okay. Technology. All right, so now I appreciate you coming to give us this update, and I'm looking forward. I'm going to try to hopefully sign on. Karen, I have to send you an email. I could probably just get it from Dave Kelly too. Wanted to listen in at least. Will it be? Will FairTV be hosting, so will people be able to listen who are not on it, who aren't signed on? Will they be able to listen to the dialogue? You're on, I think you're on mute, Karen.
Sorry, I have to unmute in the two places. I don't think that's how this one is set up with FairTV, but I don't think we did it that way.
But we can record it.
It will be recorded, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Recorded, and I think what we've talked about is recording, and, you know, the recording shared within the first, 24 hours after the meeting.
Gotcha. All right, well, good.
This is Jim Baldwin, and we're somewhat in the gray area here with the task force in terms of FOI requirements, but technically it's not a valid meeting. I understand you're not going to be taking any votes or anything, but it does not meet in a technical sense the FOI requirements. And I'm trying to.
We actually had a phone conversation with the office of somewhere in the state of Connecticut for FOIA, that we are meeting the FOIA recommendations. We've noticed it. We've are freely inviting everyone as a special meeting. Yeah. So I believe that we have, and we've even discussed the content with I forget the gentleman's name, the FOIA contact that we have. We've even had a conversation with him, shared the agenda content, and he says that we are good for FOIA.
Even though the only people who are able to participate are those who RSVP to the meeting.
Yeah. We talked to him, again, I forget his name. I wasn't the one who had the voice conversation with him, but we talked to him about that, and he said, yeah, that's fine. Because we're not excluding anybody from it. We're just doing that to get the login information out.
Yeah, I don't think that's correct, but I will follow up and get back to you on that.
Okay.
Okay, sorry, I was trying to disconnect the other thing. And
sorry, Jim, can you clarify, because if the state FOIA agency, if we've asked them directly, if there's sort of the ultimate arbiter in that, I'm curious what the follow-up would have to be then, or what to confirm is.
It's my own what's called due diligence in making sure that the FOIA person understands the situation fully, and maybe I'll be educated in the process, and I'll let you know the outcome either way. But the fact that you're holding a public meeting and it's the agenda is there is all well and good, but under FOIA, the public has a right to participate in the meeting, and technically there should be a place for the meeting. And if that place is not in a building per se, then at least it should be on a public domain where people can listen, and not necessarily.
We're using the town. Yeah, we're using the town WebEx.
Yeah.
We've communicated it out. We're not denying anyone. This is just, just the system that we set up in this way. Again, after consulting with. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I understand the situation, and I still have my own opinion of it, and I will let you know what I hear from them. Again, what I was trying to say was simply that all public meetings are supposed to be available for anybody to walk in physically to a place where a public meeting is being held without having to register first. And the same would be true for a WebEx public meeting. But we're not going to reach a conclusion at this point, so I'll let it go at that. But I'll get back to you.
Okay. Did anyone else from the task force want to say anything, or does anyone on the Board of Selectmen have any additional comments or questions? Or I think you're off.
Yeah, thanks. My only additional comment is thank you very much for the hard work and all the hours. I realize it's volunteer, and I look forward to seeing the report later. It's later this year, right? Is that right? By the end of the year? Yeah, that's what I thought the deadline was. So
it's when it's done.
Yeah.
But it will be, within this year.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for being on. It's nice to see you, Annie. All right, so if there's no additional on this item, I am going to move to item number 11. This is just to hear and consider and act upon any other business that shall properly come before the meeting. And I do have some updates I'd like to provide the Board of Selectmen if neither one of you have anything that you wanted to. Okay, so we have, I just wanted to give you a quick update on COVID. The percent of population of ages 15 to 44 who have at least one dose of COVID-19 vaccine is at 67%, which is pretty great. The percentage of ages 45 to 64 who have at least one dose of the vaccine is 87%. And ages 65 and up who have at least one dose of the vaccine is remarkably 95%. So the percent of the population of all ages who have at least one dose of the vaccine is at 66%. So we really are getting there, and I'm really encouraged by these numbers, and I think all of us should be. It's really.
Hey, Brenda?
Yes.
Why do they report on one dose and not two doses? Do you know?
I don't know the answer to that. This is given to me. Provided to me by our health department from the state Department of Health. Maybe they don't have the full confirmation of all the second doses.
Yeah.
My other item is the AAA bond rating. I'm proud to announce the town of Fairfield recently was awarded the AAA rating from each of the top 3 agencies: Moody's, S&P, and Fitch. And I spent a considerable amount of time on bond rating calls with them and my team. And so it's exciting that we received once again our AAA, and that I look forward to Wednesday's bond sale. at which time the town will award the bond issues to the bidder who provides the lowest interest rate. If you remember, we did fairly well on this in the past. And this just, enables the town to borrow more money at a lower rate. And that saves all of our taxpayers' money. So that's a very good thing. I want to just acknowledge, I did put this in my newsletter, and I want to acknowledge, I don't know if everybody is aware of it, I did put it in the newsletter, the prior one that we are switching to every other week because it's summer, the budget's passed, and there isn't quite as much activity, so we do it every other Friday. And in my last newsletter, I shared with our community that I had reached out to UI to ask if we could install flags on their utility poles along the post road as sort of a pilot. We got the idea from Trumbull. If if ever been to Trumbull on their main street, they have similar flags posted basically from Memorial Day to 4th of July. And so we asked and were granted a short period of time to do it. Well, the response from our community has been really overwhelming. People have really enjoyed them there, and they're asking for them to be throughout the town. But you only get to use it, I just want to mention, you can only use it for a short period of time because it does interfere with safety for their utility workers. So I'm going to, next year, I'm going to hope to get it in more areas of our town, maybe Black Rock Turnpike 2 and a few other areas, but it was a very big hit. And I think it's a nice lead up to Independence Day. Earlier today, I joined residents at a pride flag raising. Each color of the flag has its own meaning, and I thought I'd share that I shared it at the flag raising today, and I want to share it with our community and also with our board of selectmen. The red in the flag is symbolic of life, orange is symbolic of spirit, yellow is sunshine, green is nature, blue represents harmony, and purple is spirit. And so this is the third year the town has flown the flag under the United States flag as a reminder to our community that we will always stand up against any kind of discrimination of any kind. On last week, Tuesday and Wednesday nights, I enjoyed attending our high school graduations, both Ward and Ludlow. We did again have them at the beach. We did that, as you recall, last year because of the COVID, and this year we continued on, and frankly, people just really love it. It is so exciting to stand there and watch the families rolling in to go to the graduation with their graduates in the car. Everyone is so excited, the beaming with joy, and it's contagious. I was on a very high note for those 2 nights. And so congratulations to all our graduates, our 2021 graduates. And it was exciting to be able to do that. I do want to acknowledge the amount of work that goes into this behind the scenes. Anthony Calabrese deserves a round of applause from our town and all the graduates for all his hard work. He was there from 7 in the morning till the last car rolled out about 11:15 at night. His whole entire team and our police and fire and all the people who put in a lot of extra work to put this on for our students is a testament to our community and the school administrators too. So I just wanted to say that, and I wanted to open it up if there was any. That was my last. I was going to try to be as quick as possible. If there's any questions or if anybody has anything, go ahead, Nancy.
Well, just as the mother of a 2021 graduate, I just want to extend my thanks to Anthony, his team, the team at Ward. I know the parents at Ludlow felt the same thing. In fact, there's a lot of post-graduation chatter about wanting to keep this love alive. And I know there's some budgetary concerns, but what a great way to send off and great feelings. And it was just awesome. The police department was out in full force and just such great feelings and a great way to end a 4-year journey. So thank you to all involved, and congratulations to the fellow parents of graduates, and I'll pat my own self on the back. So it was great.
Well,
I wanted to.
Congratulations to you. I know it's a huge moment when your child graduates high school. I was sharing that with some of the parents because they were stuck in traffic getting in. And, it's that moment, you feel like, wow, I did it. I got my child through this whole experience. And little did I know the night my child graduated, that wasn't the end. There was a lot more to come.
I do want to.
Congratulations to you and your family.
Yeah, I do want to extend my congratulations, Nancy, to you and your family, as well as to all the graduates' families. And just my own personal note, when my daughter graduated from Ward some years back, as I was sitting in the courtyard at that time waiting for the graduation, my email popped up to alert me that my first college tuition check was due within 15 days. So that brought me down to earth very quickly when that tuition check had to go out the door. So congratulations to all and best of luck to the future and whatever it may hold for our graduates.
Thank you. All right. Well, if neither one of you have anything you wanted to bring up or share, we are going to go into executive session. So I'm going to need a motion to go in to executive session.
So moved.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, Mr. Kelly, it's going to be myself, Mr. Baldwin, and the two select people, and I have Mr. Hazelkamp in the room with me here.
Okay, just a moment, please.
Okay, thank you.